I didn't even realize Van Fleet's out.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Run Pure Sports NBA First Look podcast. We are coming back from the All-Star break. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I enjoyed a couple days off from the NBA. Joined today by Rubio Dimes. I'm, of course, Draftcheat. Rubio, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. I've come off a few days of great college basketball success. RPS here has a great college basketball team and NBA team, just basketball in general. They kill it. So it was actually nice to kind of branch away from the NBA and focus on my alma mater. I get to say that since I'm a graduate. They were on a slate, Northern Kentucky University, and then they got killed. But I almost shipped that night, and so did Big T. So it was a fun night. So, I'm glad the NBA is back, though. It should be fun.
Yeah, there you go. It was interesting to me to see all the different contributors to Run for Sports, where they kind of branched off toward the, when the NBA All-Star game happened. Because obviously it was kind of like, you got the NHL going on, you got college basketball, but the NBA was kind of like the main thing going on for these last couple of months. And I was just talking, I've been talking to you, Big T, Hoop, AP. I mean, there's 30 of us. And For me, I spent these few days working on baseball projections with the captain, right? To get our best possible baseball projections. I have no idea what's going on in college basketball or in hockey. I'm from Minnesota and I could maybe name half the hockey teams in the NHL. That's how little I care about hockey. And everyone's kind of doing their own thing, right? Some people are focused in on their NBA projections. It's just interesting to see when you get a little break in sports. There's never, outside of COVID times, any real break totally in sports, but it's interesting to see where everybody goes when you get, an all-star break, if you will.
Well, I'll tell you, as the soccer writer, on Roto Grinders, the biggest part of the year was this week. Everyone playing NBA would flock to Champions League and EPL for at least one weekend. And if you impressed, you had people, hanging on for, a few more weeks or even the season. So it was a huge deal to almost everyone who doesn't just focus on, the big sports.
No doubt about it. We do have NBA. It was back tonight. We are recording this on Wednesday night. There are two games tonight. I didn't partake in content really. We had a bunch of stuff, of course, on the site, but you can only do so much. So I continued my kind of baseball research and getting ready for the Thursday slate, which is certainly a much bigger one. Just two games on Wednesday night, 11 on Thursday. Frankly, Rubio, we have just kind of almost an unprecedented amount of news to wait for. Of course, I think it equals the slate before the All-Star game and the slate before the last game of the regular season, but I mean, I'm seeing just questionable tags, 6 or 7 of them for almost every team. We'll try to get through this relatively quickly. Of course, we'll have updated information on runpuresports.com throughout the day, but let's get through it the best we can. The first game of the night, Detroit and Charlotte. It looks like most guys are going to be playing in this game. DeLon Wright, I think, kind of the big question mark. We've seen, obviously, some of those Detroit point guards, whether it's Lee or Dennis Smith Jr., become relevant, but looks like perhaps a game to fade early on.
Oh, definitely a game to fade. I'm looking if DeLon Wright's in. The love for Saban Lee at 4,400 is gone. The love for Dennis Smith Jr. is gone. And really, you're just looking at a bunch of guys who have been priced up. And DeLon Wright, when he has been healthy the past couple months, I should say, has had a huge role in this offense. I mean, and his minutes probably won't be up to par, compared to what they were. I don't have any interest in Detroit. And then you have Devontae Graham back for Charlotte. So now those guys are priced up a little bit. And the only guy I would have any interest in at all would be Gordon Hayward. He's the only guy who's at least moderately priced. Right. Other than that, I hate this game.
Yeah. We're not going to force this one, again, roughly 22 hours before the slate locks. Detroit Charlotte looks like kind of a rough one. Again, there could be, with these teams, there could be multiple players rolled out that changes it. But as of now, just not the type of game we're going to be targeting as we preview this slate. Well, let's go to Boston and Brooklyn next. A little bit more interesting here, especially because of the total, 234.5 total. Brooklyn favored by just 3. So a high total, a close game. Those are two things that we certainly do want. Blake Griffin, we won't spend too much time on this, but I've been hearing like, oh, the three-headed monster of Brooklyn has added a fourth star. It's like Blake Griffin is not a star at this point.
No.
That's neither here nor there. He's not going to play in this one. Luwawu Cabarrot going to miss out. Somewhat relevant. Looks like Kevin Durant going to miss another game. And then the big news for the Celtics, Marcus Smart going to be back. I think that's going to cut into especially Kemba Walker, but also perhaps a little bit of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown as well.
Yeah, definitely. This is another game to where like KD has been out, so like the Nets are priced up. I might have a little bit of interest in Harden, since there's so much value you anticipate to have. I don't really have. Oh, well, you know what? There is a little bit of the Kyrie narrative if you're interested in that, but I don't think I'm going to be playing much into narrative. I think Kyrie's kind of shown a limited upside, compared to Harden, who has flash 80-point upside at times. I think, looking at it, the Celtics fully healthy for the most part. I don't really have any interest on this slate. So like you said, 11 games. There's so much injury news that happens. You're going to have so much value. There's no need to force a thin play like, Kemba Walker for 7,400 or even Jaylen Brown or Tatum. I'm just going to kind of try and keep the slate as simple as possible. Maybe Harden from this game. I think DeAndre Jordan's even if Jeff Green misses is a little bit overpriced, and even Nick Claxton received a bump. So I think Harden would be my only interest this game.
I think that's fair. I think one thing that's important to note on this huge back from the All-Star game, 11-game slate, we're going to see so much value that, I don't know. Like Kyrie, the narrative against Boston, I think that makes some sense, but you got to assume he's going to have Marcus Smart on him a lot of this game, and they're going to have a plan for him. So I don't see going there. I wouldn't hate it, if you want to roster Kyrie against Boston, go ahead. Like, obviously, he's got 50, 60 fantasy point upside. There's no doubt about it, but won't be for me. Let's go to Atlanta and Toronto. From what I'm seeing, correct me if I'm wrong, Rubio, Van Vliet, Siakam, Anunoby are all still out for this game. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yep, and then Terrence Davis is questionable.
That seems crazy after the All-Star game, but I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are probably going to miss a couple games too. So it's
I assumed all these Raptors were going to be back, but from what we're seeing,
I actually did too. And right before we started, I was like, "Oh, Van Fleet's out too." So, I mean, this is as good of a matchup as you can get for Toronto. Lowry's been playing, on pace for 40 minutes. They kind of got blown out in Detroit, and he was on pace, for 50. Trae Young's one of the worst defenders in the league, so I think Kyle Lowry makes a ton of sense. And the thing I'm kind of scared about the Hawks is that the pace has definitely ticked down a little bit. It's not
for sure. People don't realize that either is the thing.
That game against Miami it wasn't because they shot terrible that it was 94-80. It was that the shooting was barely average, but the pace was significantly down. And I know we had a bounce back with Orlando. That game was high scoring, but definitely wary of the Hawks situation right now. I don't want to spend up for any Hawks until we kind of get more settled. And I think Lowry and a few of the other, if Terrence Davis misses, then maybe Bembry pops up as a little bit of value. But even then, he's kind of a thin, low point per minute player. So, this is a game I kind of want to take my time. I'll definitely be looking at it. But yeah, Atlanta in general kind of scaring me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm definitely, given the information we have right now, I'm more interested in the Toronto side of this. Lowry, Powell, been phenomenal, in terms of a fantasy point production when these guys have been out. But
insane. It's crazy to watch.
You're paying for them now. I mean, 8,600 for Lowry, 7,200 for Powell. I actually think those are fair prices for them, given their current usage and their expected usage in this game. But they're not must plays. You know what I mean? At these price points, it's like I kind of think some percentage of the DFS population is like Van Vliet is out, Siakam is out, Anunoby is out. I'm going to play Kyle Lowry no matter what. It's like, well, he can get to a certain point where you can start to question that. And 8,600 is getting close to it. I still think he's a fine play, but he's no longer like, oh, I got to play Kyle Lowry here.
Yep. It wasn't like he's 7,000 like he was
exactly
a week before the All-Star break. There's definitely some hesitation. a solid play, but with all this value, could be less than what you want.
Yeah, let's go to Orlando and Miami, which at least for me is, given the information that we currently have, not a super exciting game. So I guess I'll throw it right back to you. I don't see a ton here, but tell me if I'm wrong on Orlando and Miami on this one.
Bam missing out, and Olynyk saw 37 minutes last game. Olynyk's price went up 400. It did not go up entirely too much. He had a great first quarter, great first half. I don't know if that led to significant minutes compared to what we usually see. I think Olynyk definitely still has that. Spo is a good guy to kind of like be wary of, kind of like Pop. He kind of pulls guys like Olynyk a little bit early and stuff. I definitely love Olynyk for the tag, and I think he can be greatly effective. We've always known him as like a point per minute guy, to where if he's gotten 33 minutes, he gets 33 DK. It seems most of the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Very offensive player. Orlando kind of like picked up the pace a little bit toward the end of the All-Star break as well, with multiple games being in like over 230. So that's a little bit of an intrigue as well. So I think there's interest in Bam, with Bam out, that I'll have in like Olynyk. With all the Miami guards healthy, I don't think I really have any interest there. Maybe Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler has just been lights out. Like even the past 2 month, he's just been a walking 50 ball. But I think 9,500 is a little bit too much. So Olynyk's the guy I'll be looking at for the most part.
That makes sense. Butler, I think, is fine. If you want to stack this game, I don't think that's the craziest idea. Butler, Vucevic, neither guy is probably going to get in foul trouble. Maybe you can get some OT there if you wanted to go for, like, both guys are like, quote unquote overpriced. But man, I mean,
Gordon could be back for Orlando.
If Gordon is back, that would take me off basically every Orlando player.
Same.
So we'll see on that. I don't have any inside information on Gordon. And if he is back, that would take me off of Vucevic, certainly Ross, for whoever's out there for Orlando. If Gordon is back, all these guys are overpriced. But if he's not, Vucevic, Butler, you can get to a weird stack in this one if you want to, because I do think the primary players on both teams are going to have strong games. Let's go to the New York Knicks and the Milwaukee Bucks. Just catching up on news here. I don't think it's going to be super significant. Austin Rivers is going to sit this game out. Derrick Rose is out. Robinson, of course, remains out. But, generally the same rotations that we've seen from both of these teams headed into the All-Star break. Of course, we saw Giannis, have a dominant All-Star break performance. Could certainly do it against the Knicks. We see a 222.5 total with Milwaukee favored by 11. Rubio, your thoughts on this one?
Looking at it here, I do kind of dig Elfrid Payton just a bit. And you know why? Because it kills me that he got 35 minutes right in his return from the hamstring injury.
Of course he did.
And it's like one of those plays where it could be sneaky, but like I said, I don't really want to complicate this slate too much and play Knicks to where
that seems like if you're relying on Elfrid Payton and he gets like 10 minutes.
That's exactly it. And it's like the tournament purist to me wants to be like Elfrid Payton. 5%.
That's not the way you want to lose, though.
Exactly. It's not the way I want to lose. A few hundred every night is playing Elfrid Payton. I don't think I do kind of worry about the spread in this game whenever the Bucks are at home. I kind of am always wary of playing like Giannis, even though he's been such a machine. This is like one of those games with Drew Holiday back too as well, so it kind of mucks up the Bucks situation as well. I think I'm going to fade this game with a slight interest if I do run multiple lineups and like an Elf Payton type play. If Taj Gibson is back or something like that, but no, see, there's too much value for me to even consider this game.
I'm with you. Let's move toward the next game of the night. I think kind of interesting to me. You're going to need to talk me off the ledge on some of these Timberwolves plays. Minnesota, New Orleans. We saw before the break, New Orleans team, their game totals just went through the roof. And we're going to see that here. 239 total between the Timberwolves and the Pelicans. The Pelicans are favored by 8.5, but just a massive, massive total between these two teams. We do know Jarrett Culver, doubtful to play. Jordan McLaughlin is out, which,
it's pretty.
You could play a decent amount of NBA and not really have ever considered him, but he does affect Rubio's minutes for sure. We'll talk about Rubio in a minute. JJ Redick is out for the Pelicans, and then it does look like Zion Williamson is going to play. This game, listen, I'm a Timberwolves fan, and they've hurt me many times. I'm kind of tempted to dive back in on them, specifically with Rubio, who was splitting all 48 point guard minutes with Jordan McLaughlin, who is now ruled out. I kind of think Rubio could play 35 minutes in this one and dominate the basketball. I'll throw it to you, and then I'll give my rebuttal.
You're talking to the wrong guy if you're trying to get Rubio. You're talking to the complete wrong guy. I gotta play devil's advocate.
You have like a Rubio jersey, so yeah.
Oh yeah, I got everything Rubio. If I'm trying to buy a Top Shot Rubio moment, but no one. It's too expensive. Can you believe that? Anyway, the minutes should be there. You'd expect a 9-minute Rubio bump or something like that. 33, 34
You would think
minutes.
so. Yeah.
And
I just don't.
Really good. I mean, he's been a point per minute guy, and 6K, like you would expect with his minute output, 25, 24, that he'd eventually go down to 5K or something. I still think it makes sense, but I still think it's too pricey on the slate for me to be like, you know what? I love it. Because even last game he goes off and only gets 24 minutes. It kills me. I would love to play Rubio. I would have more interest.
This is the game, man. Against the Pelicans.
Oh, I get it.
His backup is out.
I love it for tournaments. I actually have more interest in that Jalen Noel. Noel.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
He's been getting minutes, like 20, 24 minutes or so per game. He's been very strong when on the floor. If his minutes tick up a little bit, he becomes that like de facto maybe like point guard off the bench.
Sure.
I could see that. The 3,900 is also a little bit too much. I love this game script though, so it makes sense.
Noel would be like, I really do. Is it weird? Sometimes I feel like I'm doing it wrong when I say if Noel was 3,300 to be a lock and 3,900, I'm not sure. It's like,
I have the same exact feeling.
Yes, that's a $600 difference, but like,
it's 3-point difference.
That big of a difference,
right? I mean, well, sometimes
if you think he's going to have a big game, then you should play him at 3,900. It doesn't matter if it's 39 or 33.
It's sometimes we play those scrubs so we can fit more studs in, and that 600 is just so significant. I love punting 3,100 guys like Denny Advija tonight. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name.
Well, here's my point. Noel does have a chance at a big game, right? He could take over all the backup point guard minutes behind Rubio and also play his normal role, sort of, where he was getting 0 point guard minutes. Rubio and McLaughlin were playing all 48. If Noel takes the backup point guard minutes and gets backup wing minutes, he could get 35 minutes. I'm not projecting that, but it's at least possible. So I think the $3,900 price. I don't think people are going to look at him. I think people are going to look at, because if you just look at, if you're breaking it down kind of A to B and B to C in the transitive property, Noel's not the guy necessarily that benefits, but I think you're seeing it with me where I could see him being out there for 30-plus minutes in this one.
Yeah, me too. And kind of warming up to that Rubio call. It is a perfect spot for him. It really is.
I mean, if he's having a good game and they're winning or, whatever, I mean, it's hard to project the Wolves winning a game because of the Timberwolves, but it does happen from time to time. I wouldn't be shocked if Rubio played 35 minutes, scored 14 points, and had 12 assists and 6 rebounds.
Same.
It's in play. I think he'll be low owned. He's 6K or something like that. So
yep, very low owned. I assume. I do like that call.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll burn me, but I'll probably ride in the Ricky Rubio train to death, as I often do. We'll move on from I guess we didn't really discuss the New Orleans side of the ball, which we should always do when the Timberwolves are on the slate. So I'll throw it to you for that one.
I do think Lonzo's kind of in a groove. I know that last game, before the All-Star break, I kind of like to discard that. When a player has a bad game, guy has the eye on the break. Lonzo was kind of cooking toward the end with multiple 40-point games and stuff like that for DK purposes. And, Rubio is not the best defender, statistically when preventing DraftKings points. So I do like Lonzo. I think Zion, I have always harped a lot about his limited upside. I don't think he has like 60-point upside, which I would kind of crave for at 9,300, or even like 55-point upside. I kind of want to go for a little bit more. Sure. And with everyone healthy, I mean, the totals are so high. It makes sense, but even Steven Adams is splitting minutes with like Hernan Gomez and stuff like that, where I don't really have too much of an interest on this side.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Let's go to Philadelphia and Chicago, which I think should be an interesting one. I don't actually see lines or totals on this one, but we do know Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, I think both confirmed out for this game with they both missed the All-Star game, obviously, with COVID health and safety protocols, if you will. I think they're both confirmed out against Chicago, which obviously will change a bunch of things. I'll just throw it right to you, Ruby. Is that what you're saying? Simmons and Embiid out for this one?
Yep, they're both out. Yeah. We also have Lauri Markkanen in this game, who is probable. So the Bulls will be affected too.
So the Sixers side is way more interesting, right? Like, who's going to fill in for their two highest usage guys?
I'll tell you, good on DK for filling in with Dwight Howard at 5.3, not giving us the simple 3K punt option at 65% off.
It's getting a little expensive.
Yeah, it is. And that's why it makes it difficult. I still expect Dwight Howard, if he starts to see very high ownership, because this is a good spot. I mean, I don't think the Bulls are very effective at guarding the center position.
Are you going to play him?
I don't think that's tough, because he has been so good when starting.
You need 30.
If you guarantee me 30 minutes,
No, you need 30 fantasy points.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, if he gets 25 minutes, he gets 30 fantasy points.
Agreed.
For me, I'm trying to project that minute output. If it falls in line, if it gets 30 minutes, I could definitely see Dwight getting 36 plus.
Sure.
It's just, does he get there? I think that's a little bit of a concern. I think Tobias.
He's definitely a top projected point per dollar play. There's no question about that. But I do think his bust risk is relatively high.
Yeah. Oh, he busted at like 4K earlier this season at extremely high ownership. So it definitely is in the cards. And there's a chance Mike Scott starts at center and not Dwight.
Yeah. Tobias Harris, Seth Curry, I think all make strong plays.
Big time, especially Seth Curry. Seth Curry was the one who started at the point guard position when Ben Simmons was out. And if he plays that point guard role, for 5.2, it's tough not to consider him. I know Shake Milton. I think Shake Milton was missing at that time, maybe.
I think
I forget.
Yep.
Yeah. So Shake Milton and Seth Curry. Shake did have a great game against Indiana and didn't even get the play.
Shake in and of itself is a good play too, as well.
Yeah. Love Shake and Seth. I think whoever starts at that point guard spot, and hell, if Shake comes off the bench, he's even good too, because he'll take up all the bench role. Like that is a really great, great to see from him. Tobias Harris is probably going to be extremely chalk at 8.1. It's tough. I'm really kind of questioning that. I feel like I'm going to bite the bullet there, because he is going to be such a safe play with such a high usage. But I could definitely see the merit to fading, kind of being skeptical, but it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah. Philadelphia, I think, maybe the top team to watch. Anyone on Chicago that you're interested in? I know their defense does drop, of course, without two elite defenders, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid on the court, but I don't really see anyone from Chicago that I love.
Yeah, especially with Lauri back. So, there goes all the forwards.
Otto Porter back too.
Yeah. And so I think maybe Wendell Carter Jr. maybe as a GPP option, to where he's dropped 40 plus at times, and 6K the price tag probably won't come in owned. I could see that, but Levine's up there in price, and Lauri back, and Otto Porter back. So yeah, it's a pass.
Let's go to Dallas and OKC. Another game where, again, 11-game slate, a lot of places to go. I don't love this one. Mavericks and Thunder. Rubio, what do you see here?
Luka's getting his usual triple-double tonight.
I mean, of course.
He's going to get it. And I think, anytime Luka's under 11K at this point, he even starts off slow a lot of these games.
Where he's always in play, but
yeah. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Luka whenever he's on the court. I think Shai is too expensive. If Kristaps misses because of the back-to-back per se, that's always a possibility. Then you have guys like Kleber and even like Cauley Stein or something like that who's getting minutes tonight who could come into play. So I definitely want to keep an eye on that. As far as the OKC side, they're fully healthy for the most part. I always have a little bit of interest in like Al Horford. If he does get 30 minutes in a close game, he seems like he's been outperforming the tag when it does stay close. It's just, are the minutes going to be there? So that's the only concern. It's a tough game though. I mean, I like the studs, but it's tough.
I'm with you there. I'll need more news in that one to kind of get.
Exactly. I think we get news.
I agree. But as for now, it's kind of hard to decipher because we don't know exactly which news we're going to get. Let's go to an hour later. We do have, looks like, 3 11 Eastern or 10 Eastern time games, rather 11 Eastern time games. Golden State and the Clippers. In terms of the news and notes on this one, it's hard to kind of say. Like we saw, obviously Steph Curry took on a kind of I don't know, not like he can't play in this game, but I'm just, the instinct in me is kind of questioning how many of the Warriors are going to play in this one. I don't know. I'll throw it to you, Rubio. What do you see between the Warriors and the Clippers here?
Well, we just got tweets from Fantasy Labs literally 2 minutes ago. Kelly Oubre is in. They said he won't play on the DK.
There we go. So my suspicion was right. Thank you.
Yes. Kelly Oubre in. Draymond Green out. James Wiseman uncertain. Now, I'm a huge believer
that somehow happened
Wiseman.
Literally like 1 minute ago? Yeah, it did.
Yeah, like the James Wiseman thing is a big deal to me because I think, I don't think he starts, but
it said, what I'm reading from Basketball Monster, he missed practice due to a missed COVID test.
Oh. Huh.
So I think he could be in there. It's hard to know.
Jeez, that's so fun.
He's not hurt, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I thought the health protocols. I thought it was probably one of those things where he got a haircut and then the barber tested positive. Just like
crazy world we live in right now. Yeah.
It's I mean, if Wiseman misses and stuff like that, I'm not going to assume it. You just said it was a missed test, so if he does have a negative test, it's fine. You got Pascal at 3,700. You could see a bump, or
Looney.
Even like JTA, Juan Toscano, Anderson with Draymond Green, missing and stuff like that, where if he started, but it's like one of those things, the Warriors lineup this season has been so wild. They've started some of the most different starting lineups in the league. I hate predicting what they're going to do, but I do have great interest in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, both below 9K. If they actually, play, don't get scratched, before or after the lock, I should say. But I think I might have a little bit of interest in Kawhi. I think the price tag's a bit soft. Well, Draymond Green is in, so Draymond's in.
Yeah, I've been a Draymond believer ever since they kind of moved away from having him be a spot-up three-point shooter, which never made any sense. But since they've moved on from that over the last month or two, he's been fantastic. So I have no problem with him. Other than that, I don't know. We'll wait and see, I guess, from my perspective, who they play out there tomorrow. We'll keep moving, I guess, to the Houston Rockets and Sacramento Kings. Big total in this one, as you might expect. These teams kind of disappointing, especially the Rockets, I would say, at least from my perspective. Houston and Sacramento, we know Daniel House going to miss. Wood, I think, is going to miss at least one more game. Kurix is out for the Rockets as well. Whiteside out for the Kings. I think we're getting all this information. We've seen games like these kind of change dramatically in terms of who is in and who is out. But for now, it does look like this game could be missing a significant amount of players.
Yeah, at least on the Rockets side. I know Halliburton back for the Kings. They said if he is back, he'll play limited minutes. But I think he's not listed on the injury report. So I don't have any interest really in the Kings too much. It's tough to really predict them, for the most part. Their prices all seem a little bit up as well. They're kind of priced to tick up. So that's the part that's kind of swaying me off, like a De'Aaron Fox or even a Buddy Hield or something like that. Harrison Barnes is above 7K, which I mean, I think it kind of makes sense. I don't want to say I'm going to be completely off him or Holmes or even Bagley.
He's earned it, but it's still hard to pay the price.
Exactly. It's really tough to stomach pressing 7.1K and hitting draft on Harrison Bourne's name. So I'm kind of like up in the air what I'm going to do with Sacramento. I think with Houston, though, there's a little bit to be, happy with. I mean, the Kings do give up points in bunches. They've been one of the worst teams for that. One of the worst defenses. So I might have a little bit of slight interest in like a Wall or Oladipo, but kind of got to wait for their starting lineup. Daniel House looks like he's set to miss. So if Eric Gordon's not back, then we could see a guy like Sterling Brown start at 4.3. It's just going to be so tough to wait for that news, though.
Yeah, it's tough. There are 3 10 p.m. Eastern time games. So if you want to kind of backload your lineup on these 3 games, I have no problem with that, but it's really hard to kind of pinpoint plays when there's just so much up in the air. So let's go to the last game of the night, Phoenix and Portland. Another decently high total, just kind of depending on who misses and who plays in this game. We shall see. What do you see from this game, Rubio? Just starting off. I mean, Booker is questionable, obviously, is kind of the big news, but there's just a lot we don't know.
There's a ton we don't know, and it looks like Booker. I thought I said that he will play, or likely to play, I should say, against Portland. So it's tough. I mean, I still have interest in Enes Kanter, though. His minutes were up for the brief time when Harry Giles was missing. They went back up against Sacramento, probably because due to a great performance. It's tough to take a guy out who's on pacing for a 20-20. So this game, kind of a wait and see. I think Booker's in. I don't really have too much interest in any of the Suns when they're completely healthy. So even a guy like Chris Paul or Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Damian Lillard seems to have priced up a little bit too much for me. All these wing guys are a bit tough. I'll tell you, looking at the slate, it's kind of brutal. It's like without all this news, it's really tough to kind of sift through what's clean and what's not.
I mean, I think that's fair. Like, we're doing this podcast typically the night before, and obviously after the All-Star break, we know less than usual. So we don't want to make, this guy is a play no matter what, you know what I mean? It's just the NBA is like that. So I don't think that's a problem. I think, just kind of giving the overview of the games, what could happen, what might happen, and how we would adjust to each of those scenarios is a decent way to go about it. Of course, we've got little over a month before MLB where we will have a better idea of who to play on each slate, because frankly, lineups, starting pitchers, all that stuff is more predictable when you get to baseball. So excited for that. Excited for these last couple of months of NBA. Thanks for joining me, Rubio. As always, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow, hopefully with a little bit more information as we move toward the playoffs of NBA. Rubio, final thoughts for the people.
Well, good luck. Full slate. Hopefully you didn't go too heavy on a 2-gamer. If you did, maybe you were enjoying the NBA being back. This one will be a lot of fun. And be sure to check out all the stuff that we have to offer. I can't wait for baseball. It seems like all the content's going to be absurd. So it's going to be a lot of fun these next few months.
Absolutely. He's Rubio. I'm Draftcheat. We'll check you next time.